All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Power Hour. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody is doing great. Thanks for joining. And got to turn this little banner off here. There we go. All right. So awesome. Well, hey, first off, apologies. I couldn't make it last month. I had something come up at the last minute, and I really don't like to miss these, but I just couldn't find a way around it. So hopefully, you guys were able to still use it and get some words in. So I am fighting off a little bit of a cold. So if I sound a little nasally and sniffly, that's why. But the show must go on. So okay. So who do we have in the house today? We've got Lou. Hello, Lou, and we've got FW Thompson. Hello, FW. And we've got Alba in the house. Hello, Alba. And who else do we have? We have Lighty. Hi, Lighty. Oh, excited for another Power Hour. Working on my fourth book, which should be coming out mid-October. Very nice. Congratulations. In fact, there we go. Get the applause. Get the applause. All right. And then Hunter. Hey, guys, just checking out Chargers. Very cool. Well, good to have you with us, Hunter. And yeah, so we are back to regular rotation. This is the stretch of the year where I don't anticipate any, weird, or there's no weird holidays or anything that pop up like Labor Day. Although we got lucky with Labor Day this year because this is the first Saturday of the month and Labor Day was last week. So we kind of got lucky with the U.S. holidays. But October, next Power Hour will be the first week of October, and then we'll have November, and then we'll have December, and then I'll have to look at the calendar and see what we'll do for January. But pretty clear skies moving forward. Okay, let's see. We got Jonathan in the house. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you. And Not Jack. Hey, first one of these in a long time. Well, hey, glad to have you back, Not Jack. And Jack, Not Jack, I should say. Just finished my manuscript and revising it. Very, very cool. And hi, Deb. Deb is in the house. All right. I'm working on short stories today. So I haven't really announced this because I wanted to make sure I didn't fall on my face before I did it. But I'm doing the Ray Bradbury challenge. So there's two parts to the Ray Bradbury challenge. The first part is you have to read a poem, a short story, and an essay every day for, he says 1,000 nights, but I'm just doing a year. And then so that's basically 1,095 pieces of work. And then you have to write a short story every week, which is a lot harder than it sounds. But I've succeeded. I'm 2 weeks ahead. I've actually got a couple in the bank. So I think I've written 10 stories so far, and I'm working on a new one today. So that is a fun, notoriously difficult challenge. If anybody's ever done the Ray Bradbury challenge and has succeeded, please let me know, because I definitely have found that this challenge is just not for the faint of heart. Like you kind of have to be firing on all cylinders every day. So that's what I'm working on. But I do also want to let you guys know that I have a new book out. So there are a few of you I know who are interested in speaking. I co-wrote a book with my friend Maddie Dalrymple, and it's called, scoot over so you can see me, it's called From Page to Platform, and it's how to succeed as an author speaker. So Maddie and I, we've appeared at lots of different writing conferences. We do a lot of different stuff together, and we met at a conference one time and we got along famously, and we were chatting around dinner and we're like, hey, it'd be really cool if we wrote a book on everything we know about public speaking. And so we have published this book. It is available wherever you get all your books, and it's literally everything I know about public speaking. So how to get public speaking gigs at different conferences, how to work with organizers, how to prepare your PowerPoint, and tips and ninja tricks on that, tips on traveling if you've never traveled before, tips if you're going on a plane, tips if you're going on a train, tips if you're going on a bus. All right, maybe it's not that granular, but travel tips for sure. And then also just some tips on negotiation of contracts. So I love this book. It was so much fun to write with Maddie because she's so different than I am. Like we have, in a way, completely opposite personalities, but it comes together really well in this book. So if you're interested, it's available in ebook, paperback, and audio wherever you get your books. And yeah, it's good stuff. And for those of you who got review copies, I'll be letting you know where you can leave the reviews. If anyone who's watching, if you would like a review copy, please let me know. I would love to send you one. Okay, we got some more comments that came in here. Let's see. Jonathan says, I haven't done it, but finishing a story is better than starting 50. Yeah, tell me about it. The hardest one was the first story. But then I figured out the secret. So I'll tell you the secret to this challenge. Write short stories. I'm not being facetious. I mean, write short stories. So like write stories that are like 2,400 words. And then it gets a lot easier. Because I was doing it the hard way. I was doing like 7,000 word stories, and God, it's so hard. But no, then it got easier. Okay, yeah. Okay, says that's a legit, known, extremely difficult challenge. Yes, it is. It is the hardest. It is probably the hardest challenge I've ever done in my writing career, and I'm not exaggerating. Lighty says, I find short stories and novellas much harder to write than a full novel. So good on you for trying this challenge. Yeah, thanks. It's fun. The hardest part actually about it is it's not so much writing stories. It's finding essays to read. So like he recommends you read essays, and I love essays, but like finding them sometimes can be a challenge. All right. Hunter says, just quit my job, going home for 6 weeks, maybe organizing today. Well, hey, good luck, Hunter. And Jonathan says, I can't seem to condense a story down below 10,000 words. Yeah. I always thought that too, that I was more of a novel writer. But I think I figured it out. There's some, once it clicks, it really clicks, and then you can start to write stuff. Like the other day, I wrote 2 stories in one day. So, but you've got to do it enough to where it clicks. Okay. Is it fantasy or sci-fi, your new novel? Well, my newest novel is actually fantasy. It's The Good Necromancer, book 6. I just published it last week. So I don't think I'll be writing any sci-fi for a while, but I could be wrong. Yeah, Jonathan, simplify and reduce the number of characters. Is that how you condense? Yes. Not so much simplify, but like 3 characters probably is the most. Like I wrote a story a couple days ago where it was 4, but technically the 4th character wasn't really a character. So like, yeah, having short number of characters. Also following the Lester Dent plot formula. If you've ever heard about that, that was one of my secrets. That's how I figured it out. So if you follow if you limit your stories to somewhere around 2,400 words, maybe 3,000, and then use the Lester Dent method, and you really truly use the method, the story kind of writes itself. It's kind of funny how it works. Yeah. So Olkesh says, yeah, that's it. Reduce characters and side plots. A short story is basically straight to the point. It is, but you'd be surprised how meandering stories can get because they're so condensed. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So if I succeed in this challenge, if I don't fall on my face, I'll do a video on it. I'll do a comprehensive video on the Ray Bradbury challenge because I've never seen anybody do that. So that could be kind of fun. Okay. Well, you guys know what time it is. Let's go ahead and get the first timer on the screen. Happy writing, everybody, and we will be back in 20. Okay. Well, everybody, let me know how you did. How was the first session? Let me know how many words you got and how you're feeling, because you guys know my typical spiel on that. I did about, it was about let's see, about 200 words. I started a new story, so I literally just started typing a story, and um, it's going okay. I'm just I don't know about you, but like when I start a story, I spend a lot of time on that first page, like the first 500 words. Like I spend an inordinate amount of time on it because there's like so many things that you have to hit. So hero in a setting with a problem. Setting has to be clear through the five senses of the character. Most as many as possible as the five senses have to be there. There has to be a history and opinion of the character. Why is the character there? How do they feel about the setting? Do they like the setting? Do they not like the setting? And then how do I introduce the character? How do I introduce the supporting characters? Like it's just a foundation. And I find that if I get that foundation right, then everything just kind of falls into place. But so that's why that's why my word count is kind of low. But I'll probably finish this story today. Okay, let's see how everybody else is doing. Oh, we got a question from FW Thompson. Looking for clarification on first North American rights and foreign serial rights and an option on anthology rights. Okay, so FW, I am battling a bit of a head cold right now, so my brain is not 100% sharp, but I'll do the best I can to answer this. So I'm assuming you're talking about short stories. Let me know, but typically when you're talking about serial rights, you're talking about short stories. So let's say that this story I'm writing right now, I finish it today and I package it up and I submit it to a magazine, and Neil Clark for Clark's World decides to buy it. Wouldn't that be cool? And he sends me a contract. And in that contract, it's typically going to say, when you license a short story to a magazine, you are licensing North American. It's first. I think it's called first North American serial rights is typically what you license. So what that means is you grant the magazine the exclusive right to be the first place to publish the story in North America. So Canada, Mexico, United States, all the United States territories. All right. In English, typically. So that's the other part of it. So it's first North American serial rights in English. Again, my head is not great today. And so what that means is you can give that license for ebook, all the different shades of print. So not just print, but trade paperback, hardcover, you get the picture. And then also audio could be part of the equation as well. So those three formats, that's typically what you're looking at. Now, when the magazine publishes the book or publishes your short story, either at the time of publication, the rights revert to you, in which you can do with it whatever you want, or there's usually an exclusivity period. So it'll be like 6 months or 9 months. I was just recently in an anthology where I had a story that was published, and once it was published, I had to wait 6 months before I could do anything with it. And that's fair, right? That makes a lot of sense. So you're not competing with the magazine. All right. So once you have exhausted your North American serial rights in English, then you move into what's called reprint rights. So when you look at magazines, a lot of magazines will say they don't take reprints because they want to be the first people to publish it, right? But there are some magazines that do take reprints. So they'll take your story and then they'll reprint it, and they'll usually pay you a lower dollar amount. All right. And so some authors have done really well by getting a story published in a major magazine and then taking that and then getting a reprint published. All right. So that's the first part of your question. Hope that was helpful. Second part of your question is foreign serial rights. Same concept. It just depends on the territory. So maybe you might license foreign serial rights to France or Russia or in Chinese, right? And there are as many foreign serial rights as there are countries, all right? Or as there are languages is another way to think about it. So really what you probably want to be focused on given that you speak English, and I'm assuming English is your mother tongue. If it's not, that's cool too. But first American North first I can't say this today. First North American serial rights, or first European serial rights, right? So I mean, North America is not the center of the world, but you get what I'm saying here. That is the clarification. Um, so that's what it means. You tell me if I hit the bullseye on that. Okay. 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 Yeah. You're confirming what I'm saying. I believe that means you're licensing the magazine anthology to print the story before anyone else in North America, and they can publish internationally. There will usually be an exclusivity period. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay. Man, we got the ESP today. You said exactly what I said, and you said it so much more eloquently than I did. Okay. So not Jack says, got through 86 words, made it through one chapter. All right. Nicely done. Jonathan, 211 words. Glad to be moving the story along. Nice indeed. And Jonathan Covington. Hey, Jonathan. Good to have you on the stream. About 120 words, working on a novelette blurb. Oh, those are the worst. Novelettes are cool, but the blurbs, those are never fun. Okay. Alba, I have a question. Do you need to describe your main character more than the hen's age, gender, and what hens... I'm not sure what a hen is. I'm not sure if I should take you literally or figuratively, and what the hen's roots are from culture. But I can answer the question. Yes, you probably do want to describe your character a little more. It depends on if you're writing a novel or a short story. But if you're assuming you're writing a novel, the main character usually gets the most characterization. So there are a lot of different things. You mentioned it, age, gender, culture, religion, if you want to get into that, but also just the history of the character. Like, who are they? Where are they from? I mean, you don't need to do they were born in 1987 and, a rainy night, that sort of thing. But you do want to characterize the character, and you don't necessarily do all that up front. You weave it in. So you give the reader a few details, and then there's some action or some dialogue. Then you give the reader some more details, and then there's some history of the character, and then you give the reader some more details, and maybe you go a chapter or two, and then you really get into some backstory for 200 or 300 words. So you weave it in. So at the end of the novel, the reader has almost this really cool mosaic of different details of the main character. And if you compare the different mosaics, the mosaic of your main character is going to have more tiles. Then your supporting character is going to have fewer less tiles, and your villain fewer less tiles, and all the way down to your cameo characters, which only have maybe 1 or 2 tiles, right? So I'm torturing the analogy, but hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Hunter says, yeah, allergies caused my asthma to act up a few weeks ago, cleaning that equipment and soaking dishes. Yeah, you're getting some things done, Hunter. Good stuff. All right. Doreen. Hello, Doreen. Welcome to the stream. Word count +2, but I'm editing. Yeah, it's not uncommon to have some negative numbers when you're editing. It's no big deal at all. All right, Lighty, 392 words. And yes, totally understand about page 1 taking the longest. I am a super ultra plot outliner. Oh, that's cool. That'd be a cool on a shirt. Super ultra plot outliner. Absolutely no pantsing for me. So there's a lot to do before page 1. Yeah, I can totally relate. Okay. And Lou, honestly, the only time I count my words are for the power hour, because to me, word counts make me feel like I'm trying to meet a quota rather than tell a story. And that's perfectly valid. Perfectly valid. Deb, thank you so much. Writing a review of the new book From Page to Platform. Deb so kindly offered to write a review. Okay. Oh, okay, Alba. Okay. I'm tracking now. I use him instead of her or his. Okay. And Ulkesh says, I managed to submit a short story to a magazine and fix an issue with my submission stats spreadsheet. Nicely done. Okay. Deb, no, there's not. Be as detailed as you want. I just appreciate you taking the time. All right, Miss Blogger, what is your favorite location or spot in your work in progress? A place that you wish existed and that you could visit or just hang out yourself with you or your characters? Oh, that's a really cool question. I love that question. There's a lot of them, But the one that jumps to mind, one that I really enjoyed, I have a series called Galaxy Mavericks, and the main characters stop on this ice planet, and it's called Cryovox, and it's just this beautiful ice planet, and there's the stars out there, and it's just very scenic and quiet, and a little chilly, obviously, and a little creepy. And I think it would be kind of cool to just hang out on an ice planet and just walk around and see the culture of the people that live on an ice planet. Because I found myself writing it. I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool, concept. I should go into this a little bit more. And then I never did. So, but yeah, I'd probably would like to spend some time in all of my characters' worlds. Would be pretty fun. Okay, well, let's get into our second session, gang. We'll get some timers up on the screen, and good luck. Okay. Second session is in the books, gang. So let me know how you did. What progress did you make? How are you feeling? So I got past my first 150 words, and now I wrote another 150 words. So I follow the Lester Dent method, which is basically, if you haven't heard of it, it's a method that was popularized. He didn't invent it, but it was popularized by Lester Dent, who he wrote the Doc Savage novels, and it's basically, he calls it his master fiction plot. And you basically take a story, you divide it into 4 quarters, and each quarter has 4 parts. And if you do the math, then each part is somewhere around 150 words if you're writing a short 2,400 word short story. So, and there's a very specific beat that happens in that story. So I don't outline my stories, but I just follow the beat. So once you get the first part right, which is just basically a hero in a setting with a problem, then everything kind of flows naturally from there. It just kind of, it's like you kind of put your story on rails, and then crazy things happen. So I write into the dark. So I still have no idea what's going to happen in the story, but it just kind of writes itself. Okay, we did have some questions that came in, or some comments that came in here from Alba. Thank you for answering. It was a question that crossed my mind. I've written 28 books in total, but never published them. I'm working on the debut book now. Well, that is a lot of books to not publish, Alba. So good for you for getting them out. That is not a small number. So that's awesome. And by the way, you get the, yeah, I would do it 28 times, but I'm not going to be obnoxious. All right. And Miss Blogger says, what's your favorite book genre to read and or write? That's a really good question. So I'll take this in 2 parts. So in terms of reading, there are very few genres that I don't enjoy reading. I have a very eclectic appetite. I'll read just about anything. That said, some types of horror I'm not a big fan of. Some parts of post-apocalyptic, they're just a little too much for me. I'm not a big erotica guy. And but other than that, I'll read just about anything: science fiction, fantasy, romance, westerns, mysteries, thrillers. I'm pretty eclectic, and I enjoy just about anything. I also enjoy a lot of nonfiction. I really enjoy reading essays. I enjoy reading poetry. I enjoy reading anything that gives me an insight into someone's life, because that is how you learn how to write more realistic fiction. And so I enjoy those sorts of things too, the more documentary type nonfiction as well. So, okay. So, and then in order to write, my favorite fiction genres to write, definitely fantasy. Sci-fi would be a close second. I would say, one day I probably will write thrillers. I've always felt like I'm kind of a closet thriller writer, but I think about writing a thriller and I just don't get any ideas. So maybe at some point that will change. But yeah, that is the answer to your question. And then also, I'm working on my character profiles for my main zombie characters in my fiction, fantasy, and romance novel. Nicely done. Okay, FW, I've decided to take my short story to a couple libraries and see if I can get some readers from my short story. The more feedback, the merrier. Yeah, you could definitely do that. I mean, there's I don't know if they do this anymore, but there used to be bulletin boards at the library. It was kind of like a classified section. It was usually like a cork board or something where people would say they needed help with something, that sort of thing. So yeah, go for it. Me personally, that would probably be a last resort. I think you could find so many people online who would be willing to help you out, that I don't necessarily know that you need to go to the library, but if you want to, hey, more power to you. Okay. Not Jack, 70 words for the session. Lighty, 254 this time. Very nice. Jonathan, 124. Not sure if I like what I wrote. Hey, we all reserve our opinions of our work and got to do what we got to do. Lou says, I continued editing, added at least a few dozen words. Jonathan is sitting at 30 words. All right. Let's see. Jonathan, Michael, I'm trying to get this second novel done so I can publish in a year or less after the first. How important is making that deadline? It's important, but it's not important enough to break your back to do it. Naturally, this is one of those things where the publishing life becomes a beast. It becomes like this giant coal engine that no matter how much coal you shovel into it, it's never satisfied, right? So the sooner you publish your books, the better. There's to me, I think that's irrefutable. As long as you're writing a quality book, you get it edited, you get a good cover design, you get a good book description. It's always better to have that book come out sooner than later because readers won't forget about you. They'll be able to buy your book while it's the previous one is still fresh in their heads. No, to me, I think that's indisputable. Problem is, it's not always easy to get those books out that quickly. So, Jonathan, I would just say, the sooner you can get it out, the better. But any deadline you impose is really arbitrary. I wouldn't sacrifice your health or um, other important things to do it. Okay, Deb, even following the beats is an outline. Well, I concede that you're partly correct on that. However, to me, outlining a story means you know what's going to happen before you write it. I don't know what's going to happen when I sit down to write this story. Like this story I'm writing right now, it's two executives in a boardroom and the air conditioner has gone out. That's all I know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why the air conditioner's out. I don't know, what the deal is going on. The air conditioner's out, and that's the hero in a setting with a problem. And I've just introduced another character, and that's it. Where this goes, nobody knows. So to me, I still consider it to be writing into the dark. But I do see what you're saying. Okay, Nick Gamer, hello. Nice to have you here, and always love seeing Mario in the Avatar. Okay, FW Thompson says no fantasy for me. Tolkien is an exception. That's all good. Anna, what are your thoughts on reading the hard page or reading online, especially poetry for the Ray Bradbury Challenge? Yeah, give me one sec. Excuse me. I'm not much of a hard person guy. I used to have a period in my life where I collected books and I bought books and then I would never get around to reading them and they would take up all this space. And I think we can all relate to that and we all can smile and appreciate it. I just don't have a whole lot of space. And I'm at the point in my life where I'm trying to get rid of shit and not bring on more. And so I do everything digitally. So I got this tablet. This is a Books. It's called a Books Note Air 3C. Not a pretty name. It's kind of a mouthful, but it's basically a tablet. And the cool thing about it is that it's an e-reader. And the cool thing is that it comes with a stylus. So like you can annotate your books while you read them. And I find that's really cool. And it runs Android. So you can install Android apps and all that. And I don't know why I got this for the challenge because it helps me. And I take a little sling bag around with me wherever I go. So I usually just throw this in the bag. So if I'm like at the doctor's office or something, I can pull it out. And it's a more pleasant experience than reading on my phone. So anyway, that's probably more than you wanted to know, but yeah, I'm a digital guy. I have moved to digital. It's not to say that I won't read a paperback book. I mean, if it's the only way I can get it, and I'm really interested in learning what's in the book or reading a story that might be out of print or something, I'll do it. But then I'll probably just donate the book to a free little library. Okay, I wish hard to find sci-fi readers around here. I think there's probably some sci-fi readers here for sure. Alba, I call them practice books. Yeah, it takes time to practice and improve. Yeah, you're thinking about this the right way. You're definitely thinking about this the right way. Okay, we have a couple more comments, but hey, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get to your comments, but let's go ahead and jump into our third session. And you guys know I'll stay on and answer any questions that you've got. So let's get our 20 minutes on the timer, and then we'll come back and we'll shoot the breeze. Okay. Well, hey, gang, we are at the end of the power hour. So let me know how you did, and I'll get to some of these comments that I didn't get a chance to get to before we went to our last session. I did another 150 words, so I'm almost done with the first quarter of this story, which is a good thing because once the first quarter goes, then it tends to go a little faster. So I'm starting to figure out why these executives are in a boardroom and the air conditioner's out. Something mysterious is going on here. This is not just your typical story. It's going to turn into a fantasy story, I think. All right. Let's see. Oh, Alba, we were talking about practice books. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you call them practice books. It takes time and practice to improve. Yes, could not agree more. And Jonathan says, to add on to that, I feel my books are practice books too. I'm just not smart enough to know I shouldn't have published them. Yeah, well, I'll take it a step further, Jonathan. Every book is a practice book. At least I consider that. I mean, when I write a short story, I'm practicing. Right. And as Dean Wesley Smith always says, this is the only profession where we can get paid for our practice sessions. Right. So it's a beautiful thing. All right. Miss Blogger, if you were stranded on a deserted island, what character would you want to be with you and why? Oh, that's an interesting question. Which character would I want to be with me? I probably would say X from my Android X series. He is a super intelligent android, and he can pretty much do anything. And his hands turn into guns. So if people attack him, then he's got me covered there. And he also has a lot more common sense than I probably ever would have. So I would definitely have X, and if I could, I'd have his partner, his human assistant, Shortcut, just because Shortcut's hilarious. That's what I would do. But there would probably be a bunch of other characters I'd want to have. It kind of depends. Like, do I have to fend for myself on this deserted island? Like, do I have to actually find my own food and build a hut and all that stuff, or is the food provided? Because if the food is provided and I just got to live there, then I probably would have Lester Broussard from My Good Necromancer series. He'd be a fun guy just to sit around and talk to. But I suspect it's probably the former. Okay. Lighty, yay for me personally. When I plot outline, I write a description of every single scene before I write the actual story. Yeah. Very, very classical outline tradition. My plot outlines are usually 10 to 15% as long as the novel itself. So like 8.5K-ish plot outline for an 85K novel. Yeah, it's good that you have that insight, Lighty, that you've done the math on that. That's a really interesting insight. I bet other people's would be different, but not because your own numbers. You kind of own that, and I love it. Yeah, Lou says it's an Android tablet with an e-ink display. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, and I love it. It's one of the best tablets I've ever bought. Anna says, "Thank you. I have an e-ink Nomad that I love." Yes. Oh, okay. Somebody wanted me to type in the name of the tablet. Note Air 3C. I think that's what it's called. I'll put it on the screen. It's not a cheap tablet, but I figured if I'm going to do this challenge, I need to invest in something that I can actually use. Let's see. There, I'll just throw it on the screen. So it's a very well made tablet. I'm really, really impressed with it. Okay. Miss Blogger, have you ever heard of Abby Emmons? If not, you should check out her channel and apply some of her advice to your writing process and work in progress. I have heard of Abby. She's got a pretty good YouTube channel, so thank you for that recommendation. Okay, Alba. I sometimes post on Wattpad to get feedback. I was speaking to Jonathan, but I want my debut book to be at its best before publishing on Amazon. You only get one first impression. Yes, you do get one first impression, but just remember that that first impression lasts for your life plus 70 years, right? So you can always change things down the road if you need to. All right. What is your blogger or what is your character's internal and external goals, motivation, and conflict in your work in progress? Also, how do you create your characters? Well, I won't share what the motivation is on this story just yet because I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go. But I always start my stories with a hero in a setting with a problem of some kind, right? So a problem can be something like they need a glass of water, or in this case, she wants to take a cold shower because the air conditioner's out and it's been out for a while. Or it could be as dramatic as the character dangling off a cliff. Then they need to try to climb up the cliff, but they can't because their arms are getting weak or something like that. So a problem is however you want to define it. It can be anything. It could be argument with a spouse or a girlfriend or something. I mean, problem can be very you can interpret it very liberally, and in terms of motivation and conflict, I don't think about that anymore. I used to, I forget her name, but there's that really famous book, Goal, Motivation, Conflict, GMC, and that was a good book. I think that book put a finger on what I think a lot of authors do intrinsically, and it's just really cool. It's always cool when somebody verbalizes the things that you're thinking and can't verbalize. But I don't think about that anymore. It's been a long time since I've thought about goal, motivation, and conflict. I am very myopically focused. What is my hero in a setting with a problem? And then what happens next? And then what happens after that? And everything just kind of flows. It's this, you know, call response, and the hero does something, and then the environment responds, and then the hero has to do something else, and the environment responds, and that's how I think about it, and that leads me to where I need to go. I'm just a fan of keeping it simple, but it's a really good question. It's a really good question. Okay, FW chapter is writing itself. 2 chapters done by the end of the day. Nice. Anna did 344 words. Nicely done. Jonathan is brainstorming the next novelette, and Not Jack is at 214 and 370 for the session. And Jonathan is cruising along at 165 words with 500 total for the power hour. And B Matrix says, I get paid to practice medicine. There you go. Nicely done. Nicely done. Do I have, I don't know if I have anything silly. Okay. Well, I'll just do one anyway. Ow, ow, ow! Yeah. I need like a rim shot or something like that. All right. Deb says, I have 164 words for your book review. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for dedicating your power hour to review. All right. And Olkesh says, I've been writing a critique of a short story from my writing group, nearly finished now. And Lighty is cruising along as well, 224 words. And Lou says, more editing for me, got in more with my character introduction. Yeah, Anna, it's Deb Dixon. Yeah, she wrote that book. And it's a great book. It's a great book. There's a lot of good information in there. Okay, and Mrs. Blogger asks, or Miss Blogger, I should say, I don't want to misrepresent. Are you a plotter, pantser, or a plantser? Well, I am a pantser through and through. I am what you would call a ride or die pantser. Like if you held a gun to my head and said, you must outline your novel or you will die, I would take the bullet. I am a pantser through and through. It's in my DNA. It's just how I'm built. That's how I think about the world. I like to just throw myself into a story and see what happens. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. That's just how I roll. And my philosophy is that because I don't know what's going to happen, I think that's more pleasing for the readers. Because if I don't know what's going to happen, then they probably don't know what's going to happen, and that's fun. But I'm very familiar with outlining. I outlined my first 10 novels, so I know that side of the tracks, and I have no ill will against it. It's just I found that when I outlined my novels, I wasn't following my outline most of the time. I would deviate, and my brain would take me in different directions, and I kind of thought, well, why am Why am I spending all this time outlining? So for novels, definitely a pantser. For short stories, definitely a pantser. Although I do follow a little bit more structure with my short stories. So like the Lester Dent plot method, I don't follow that with my novels. I just start the novels and they go where they go. You know, I mean, there's I probably have written so many that I think I have some methods kind of ingrained in me, like Larry Brooks's story engineering, the plot point theory. That I think naturally just kind of happens in all of my books, but I don't sit down and plan it, or I don't rearrange things just to meet plot structures, and I think that works pretty well for me. And I guess the only time I would be a plotter is if I'm collaborating. So like the book that Maddie and I wrote, which I'll throw it on the screen one more time, just because why not, right? So the book that Maddie and I wrote, from page to platform, we sat down and we came up with a very detailed outline on everything that needed to be in the book. So we kind of took it from cradle to grave. Like if you want to be if you're a speaker and you want to be a speaker, what do you have to learn? Okay. And then after you've learned that, then what do you do? And we actually came up with the table of contents first, and then we divvied up the chapters, and then we, did it that way. But I do have the link to from page to platform one last time if anyone's interested. So, but yeah, if I collaborate, I would probably outline. However, I have this theory, and it's maybe something I'll do someday, that I think it would be really cool to have a collaboration where both writers are pantsers. Because I think that most people would agree, yeah, you probably want to outline a novel if you're going to write a novel together or a short story together. I think on a logical level, I think most people would hear that and say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I just wonder what would happen if two writers who are skilled pantsers got together and writer A wrote the first scene, the first 500 words, right? Hero in a setting with a problem. And writer B had no idea what they were going to write. And they take the manuscript over, and then they write another 500 words based on what has come before it. And they just trade the manuscript back in 500 word increments. I'm fascinated by that idea. I don't know of anybody who's ever done that. I think that would be really, really, really interesting. And then, you'd have to do some editing, and, because you'd have to blend voices together and all that. But I think intuitively, I think the authors would kind of blend their voices already. I'm just morbidly fascinated by that idea of what would happen if two people wrote like that. It's almost like improv comedy, like the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? They give you a prompt, and then they do these skits. I used to love that show, and I always thought that was pretty cool. It'd be cool if you did something like that with a novel. Okay. Deb says I should plug my book about pantsing. Well, thank you. I probably should, shouldn't I? So I do have a book. It's called The Pocket Guide to Pantsing. This is for the audiobook, so if anyone's interested, you can check out the audiobook on my YouTube channel. I narrated that, and it's for free. And there's a link to the book where you can grab it if you are interested. Oh yeah, FW Thompson, you make a really good point. Campfire stories, yes, that is a lot like campfire stories. Yes, when I was in Boy Scouts, we used to do that. That was fun. Yeah, like that tradition of like a campfire style writing. I love that. Absolutely love that. Okay. Miss Blogger asks, when did you start writing your first novel? 2011, maybe 2012. No, it was earlier than that. It was maybe 2010 ish, and it never went anywhere. It never went anywhere because I didn't know. I didn't know how to do it. So that would be kind of fun. But yeah, I didn't know anything about writing a novel. I just thought, like everybody else, I can do this. It's no problem. I read Tolkien, I read Harry Potter, and all your favorite writers, and you sit down and do it, and you realize how hard it is, and then you cry in the corner every day. I didn't do that, but there were probably some days where I felt like I did want to cry in a corner. But I think I started 2 novels. I wrote one novel, and it's still a really cool idea, and it's something I think about a lot. It's like I should go back to that. That would be like knowing what I know now. I probably could pull it off, but it's kind of a weird concept, but it would be cool. And then the other one I wrote was like an interactive adventure. My very first novel was a choose your own adventure for adults, and I wrote before I wrote that one. It's called Magic Souls. Before I wrote Magic Souls, I wrote another one, and that one just kind of crashed and burned. I don't think that will ever see the light of day. That was just a complete dumpster fire, but it taught me everything I needed to know about writing Magic Souls. So it was a success in a way, even though it was a dumpster fire. Okay. Anna says exquisite corpse technique. Okay. I'm kind of scared to Google that. I don't know what that means. I'm going to put my browser on incognito mode before I do that. One of these days, the government's going to come to my house and knock on my door and say, what, excuse me, sir, please tell me why you were searching for exquisite corpses. Okay. Exquisite corpse is a method by which a collection of words or images is collectively assembled. Oh, interesting. Okay. So it was developed by the surrealists. Okay, I was just trying to figure out why is it called exquisite corpse. That is like a very random thing. Okay, I'm going to put a link to Wikipedia so people can read that. That's really cool, Anna. Thanks for letting me know about that. That's it's just kind of funny how like there's a million different writing techniques that are out there. So for people who are watching this on the replay, I'll just put the link on there. I mean, you can't click it or anything, but at least you know what you're looking at. All right. So Anna, it's from Surrealism. Yeah, that's fun. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Lighty says that's sick. Choose your own adventure books are so fun. Yeah, it was fun to write. It's one of those things that like I don't know. I don't know if it was ahead of its time or it just didn't. I don't know. It was a very fun project. It taught me so much about storytelling and book formatting, because formatting those is a challenge too. Anna says it probably wouldn't work for a novel. I don't know. Maybe it could. I think you probably would definitely want to start with a short story. I mean, it's kind of like marrying somebody when you're working with another author. It's like, this is, make sure you could do a short story before you do a novel by any means. But I think that would be fun. Yeah. FW Thompson, you could try that campfire theory with other writers. Just pass around a story. Yeah. I think you would have to. I don't know. This is maybe just a little bit of trying to avoid organized chaos. You would almost have to agree on some kind of structure. Like I think it would be helpful to agree. Okay, we're going to use the 3-act structure, or we're going to use the Lester Dent plot formula, or we're going to use. I think there's like another one that's called the Nelson plot formula or something like that. Like we're going to use that. Like it doesn't matter what we write. You can write whatever you want, but we agree that these are the guardrails that we're going to use. And I think that would get some of the cats in the corral, so to speak, because that I think that could get out of hand real quick. Just passing a story around. Okay, let's see. Roderick says, I wrote 2 Choose Your Own Adventure as a kid, one for the Tunnels and one for the Trolls game system. Oh, cool. The other was a wildly ambitious fighting fantasy ripoff. Oh, I loved fighting fantasy. Oh, that was fantastic. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. If you know, you know. Let's see. Not Jack says, isn't there a novel like that by Daniel Abraham and George R.R. Martin? Maybe there is. I would definitely be interested to read that. So, okay, let me pull up the date for the next Power Hour, guys, so I can just announce that. And I didn't get a chance to send out a newsletter this week because I've just been sick and had other things going on. But let's see. So the next Power Hour will be Saturday, October 4th. All right. So Saturday, October 4th, mark your calendars. I will send out a newsletter to talk about that. But just want to thank everybody for coming out today. You guys did such a great job, and I always love answering your questions. So I'll be back. I do have a YouTube video that's coming out very soon. It is a tool called ProseWrite, and it's a dictation tool. So for those of you who dictate, you're going to want to pay attention to this, because this is a game changer. It is one of the coolest pieces of tech I've reviewed in a long time. It solves a lot of problems that dictators have. And if you're a dictator, particularly if you're, Mac, you're going to want to pay attention to this. So anyway, thanks guys for another great Power Hour. Thanks for joining, and I will see you next month. Peace.